Oh my god, look how beautiful everything is. I'm so lucky to be alive. Wow. Fuck, what did we do? I think I really fucked up this time. I do not condone the use of any drugs. This happened a long time ago, so please do not do what I did. I broke all the safety rules, which can be very dangerous. Please be safe and do your own research before consuming any substances. This video is intended for harm reduction and entertainment purposes only. This epic story is not only about my very first mushroom trip, but my first true psychedelic experience in my life. And I didn't know it at the time, but this day changed everything. I was a very different person at this stage in my life. You know, I was a lot more narcissistic, closed-minded, a bit of a sociopath actually, and a little bit psychotic in some ways, and depressed. And the reason why I'm telling you guys this is just to give you a little bit of context and show you firsthand how just one trip can forever change your perception of life and yourself. This is my favorite trip story to tell, and there's a reason why I've waited so long to finally make a video about it. So this happened over 4 years ago, where I tripped with my best mate Jabba. My intention was not to have this spiritual experience and grow as a person. It was definitely not. This was just to have a new experience, try a new drug and trip out, see what this thing's about. We went to this awesome nature spot, which was about a 2-minute drive from my house, which I had no idea that it even existed at the time, but there's like this awesome lake, cliff, amazing trees and scenery. It was just wow. Like it's so amazing that we literally call it the happy place. Actually, you know what? Let me show you. So we went there at about 4 in the afternoon, and we both ate 5 mushrooms each. And like, we didn't wait at the time. Again, please learn from my stupid mistakes. We had no idea about drug education or set and setting or any of these things. Anyways, we took about 5 mushrooms, and I think it probably would have been about a gram or so. But just keep in mind that the mushrooms that we did take is a very potent species called Psilocybin subaeruginosa. So it probably would have been equivalent to a 1.5 to a 2 gram trip. Chilled in the car for a little bit, and then we went out. And I remember the very first symptoms was the colors started to get a little bit more vivid and saturated. And I remember turning to my mate Jabba, and I'll be like, dude, is it just me, or is the grass really fucking green? And he's like, yeah, dude, I was gonna say the same thing, like, whoa. So we kept walking down the path until we reached the cliff where there was a lake. There used to be like these giant cement block stairs, and so we just chilled on one of them and just stared at the cliff for a while, just like enjoying it. And after a while, we're like, you know what? I think it's time to smoke a joint. And by the way, I do not condone mixing drugs. Just remember that we were very uneducated idiots at the time, especially when it came to drug use, so we just didn't know any better. But that being said, this is where the trip really began. So after we smoked weed and the mushrooms really kicked in, that's when we started to go into a very deep hypnotic trance, just staring at this majestic cliff, right? And the visuals really started to kick up, the saturation of the colors just dialed up quite a bit. And that's when the changing color spots were really obvious, and you didn't have to stare at it for that long. And I remember one stage, like, I would just be staring at this cliff, and then the whole cliff would just turn neon purple, and everything around it would just be bright green. But while it's like breathing and morphing, and looking at this cliff, you'd see like all these really cool tribal patterns and animal faces. And I remember Jub pointing out, is like, dude, that's Mufasa. And you actually look at this part of the cliff and it looks like a lion, but on mushrooms it's like that much more obvious and profound. It's like, whoa. It's like I forgot how beautiful and amazing life and nature is, right? And it's like, it's really hard to compete with the overstimulating, ultra-realistic video games and Call of Duty and Gears of War, and just constantly having that stimulation in your brain. So then once you go outside and you look at a tree, it's fucking boring. It's not doing anything for you, you know? So the mushrooms really allowed me to just go back to that original state when I was a kid and like really see nature for what it is, you know what I mean? And it's amazing. Dude, we were blissing out. I remember Jub literally dancing his soul away on a rock. And thank God I decided to take my shoes off, because for those who've had a mushroom trip and you've had the pleasure of feeling your bare foot on earth, it's the best. I just felt these rocks sending this magnetic charge and that just pulsated throughout my entire body, and it felt, yeah, it was like a bit orgasmic actually. So we were chilling for a while, and the longer that we stayed there and the longer we went into the trance, the more connected, the more bliss entered our state of being, and just the better the trip was. It's so bizarre, but this feeling of deja vu was so overwhelmingly powerful that I was convinced that I've been here before, and there is no time, in a sense that time is so malleable and it's not what we may think. Our ego likes to put time in this linear sequence, but somehow I feel like everything's happening simultaneously, like outside of space and time. And I know I'm getting into really pseudo-scientific, hippie woo-woo nonsense, and I'm just explaining how I felt at the time, and just me trying to put into dumb words on what I experienced, because the psychedelic experience is ineffable in many different ways, and as soon as you put a word, a mental construct, you've kind of lost the essence of it. In total, we were at this spot for 2 hours, but it felt so much longer, I'm telling you guys. But then it started to rain a little bit heavier, and it wasn't the rain that bothered us, but it was starting to get dark. And then we're like, I guess we should leave now. And instead of going back the way we came, we went around the long way, like fucking weon. For those that don't know, because I use it a lot, weon is a Chilean slang, which means like dickhead or idiot. But anyways, we went around the long way, but we were tripping balls on mushrooms. But we made it to the car. Now, this is the part of the story where everything flipped on its head. And it wasn't good. On psychedelics, transitions are one of the trippiest things ever. So we just came from like this outside, open, beautiful, majestic, nature-filled landscape, and then we went to a car where it was like all enclosed. It was getting dark, it was raining, and we were in public, like parked in front of all these houses. So yeah, things changed. Started to feel a little bit claustrophobic. Negative thoughts started to seep in, rational brain started to switch off, and I was really struggling to speak and string sentences together and understand what he was saying. And the single biggest mistake which I did that night was jumping on that first negative thought train. And I told Jubba, like a fucking idiot, just to make everything so much worse, hey, play some metal. At this stage of my life, I was like a massive metalhead, 24/7. Doesn't matter what mood I was in, it always made me feel better. And I didn't think of it at the time, because like, of course, when you're on mushrooms, you're so much more sensitive to everything. And even if you are a metalhead, playing metal on such a vulnerable state is not the best idea. And I didn't just play metal, I had to play really heavy metal, like machine gun heavy. So this made things so much worse, because just the really loud music and the double bass drummings and all of that just made everything erratic and made me so much worse. It put a lot of this angry, negative vibe into me, and I was already panicking as it was, so I just went further down this negative spiral. And for whatever reason, this made my brain even more retarded, in the sense that I couldn't. It took like 2 seconds for my brain to comprehend the stimulus that was coming out, right? So, for example, my job would be talking to me, but as he's talking, my brain would be on this delay. So by the time he finished speaking what he was saying, my brain was already behind, so it was mashing all his words together in this sense where I couldn't understand, and I was like really panicking, because I was like, oh no, I fucking broke my head, I can't understand you. And it was a very distressing moment in my life, especially because I had no idea about psychedelics. I didn't know about this stuff. So anyways, I told him to shut the music off. I'm like, dude, turn it off, man. This is fucking freaking me out, fuck. And he turned it off and he played Bob Marley's Three Little Birds. And he played it on loop, okay? Now, this may seem like a good idea to play this amazing song, you know, where the lyrics is like, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. When you play one song on loop over and over and over again, especially on mushrooms where you're prone to going on thought loops, this is not the best idea. And I was looking at Jub and it looked so weird because it's like, I was looking at the side of his face, but it looked like he was looking at me. It was like one of those really trippy photos I'm going to show here. That. It looked exactly like that. And this was tripping me out so much. And on top of this, I couldn't even understand him most of the time because my brain had a 2-second delay. This just further confused me and I was going really down spiral. It was getting really dark and the visuals were kicking up a lot. During nighttime, this is when psilocybin really works its magic, especially like visually speaking, at least. And I was closing my eyes and I was seeing a lot of swirling patterns and colors. Not only it's like, alright, we can't drive, we're stuck here, but then this silly irrational thought entered my mind and it's like, dude, we can't just be parked in front of all these houses. What happens if they see us and they start to get sus and then they call the cops and then the cops are going to come but we're too retarded to talk to the cops and then we're going to get arrested and it's like, oh no, they're going to call my mum. Oh fuck, my mum's going to find out I did drugs. She's going to fucking kill me, dude. Fuck. That kind of shit. And so silly. Like, looking on hindsight, it's like, okay, we could have just actually just waited it out. It would have been fine. We're just sitting in front of it. Like, no one would have called the cops. It's fine. But yeah. Not long afterwards, one of the cars in the houses in front that we were parked in front of started reversing, right? And you know when you reverse and your brake lights are red? And on mushrooms, brake lights are fucking terrifying. At least that's at my state at that time, because it was like red I associated with such negative, dark, evil colors, and this car was like reversing and then this red color just took over my entire visual field while I was freaking out. So I was thinking like, fuck, this guy's reversing, he's gonna tell us off, he's gonna tell us to get out of here and we can't even speak and we can't even drive, fuck. So I was freaking out even more. And Jub, oh man, this guy, I love you, Jub. He's such an awesome friend and he's like, close your eyes. And he just put the music up to my ears. Don't worry about a thing. It's okay. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. It's like, okay, shh. It's okay, man. It's all gonna be good. Just close your eyes. Don't worry about a thing. Oh, dude. Fucking classic. Anyways, so the car, obviously, he wasn't getting, it was just reversing and driving out. But this is the story I made in my head. But Jub was freaking out too, but I was freaking out worse than him. Not to mention, at the start of the story, I said we had 5 mushrooms each, but one of my mushrooms, you know when you just look at a mushroom, it's like, this thing can fuck you up, man. Look at how fucking blue that is. That is a potent mushroom. So after being in the car, feeling really claustrophobic, really dark, obviously it was nighttime, it was raining, we couldn't drive, there was this sense of feeling stuck and trapped. I went to really dark places, guys, and this was the most terrifying place I've ever been in my life, at that stage, of course, because ever since then I've had much more terrifying experience. But I even convinced myself that I ate poisonous mushrooms and that I was dying, right? And that is not a good thought train to jump on, especially when you're tripping and you're already in a negative emotional place. And then eventually we're like, oh, let's call Tío. So Tío, which is uncle in Spanish, is the infamous Uncle Eddie. This is actually Jub's uncle, right? Which is funny because he's like one of those uncles that's only like 2 years older than him. But anyway, so we call him Tío. Jub's like, Tío, dude, we need you to pick us up ASAP. We fucked up. We had mushrooms and we're having a real bad trip. And I'm just in the background like, we need you, Tío. Then Tío goes, yeah, alright, man. Just let me have a shower, get dressed, and I'll be over as soon as I can. And then Jub goes, yeah, about that. Not meant to be a cunt, but we kind of need you to come, like, now. Tío's like, oof, that bad, huh? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, alright, dude, I'll head over now. And Job's like, yeah, can you like stay on the phone with us the whole time? Because he's like really freaked. And at this stage, Job went outside of the car just to tell him like, dude, Tom's like really freaking out, dude. We need you to come. He didn't want to say that in front of me in case it made me feel like more insecure and weird, and which is good. Job told me that when he stepped outside, he's like, oh my god, this feels so much better because it's like open and outside, whereas in the car it's like it's all enclosed and dark, and it's like it just feels weird. So looking back on hindsight, of course, it would have been best for me to step outside the car instead of me just staying there and like, you know, just kind of crouching over, freaking out further. So about 25 minutes later, Theo arrives, like the second homecoming of Jesus, here to save us from the rapture or something. So we went in his car and we had to leave Job's car behind. Like fucking idiots. Oh, what a wound. So we jumped in his car and went on our merry way to Job's house. I was still freaking out on the way, having a bad trip. I was like crying most of the way home and shit. And I remember the visuals looking outside the window. It's like all the lights from the cars look like a long exposure shot. Sort of like Tron, like those red beams, like shoom, vroom, vroom. It was like so trippy. I think Eddie tried to just put me up in a mood. He's like, oh, you know, because I was in a band at this time. He's like, you should play one of your new songs that you guys released. On psychedelics, your brain has the capacity to process complex things, connect dots that you couldn't connect before, and think in this very like holistic way you didn't think you could do before. But when it comes to simple tasks like playing a song on your phone, it's like, what is this alien technology and how do I use these human hands again? So it was very complicated. It's like every 5 seconds I'd forget where I was. Like, oh shit, what was I doing again? I was like, oh, what's the band's password? Yeah, eventually I just couldn't play the song. And Job was having an amazing time. He was in the back seat of the car. He was dancing to, this was when Lose Yourself to Dance first came out by Daft Punk. So he was just like having the time of his life in bliss, like in one with the music, which of course is amazing on mushrooms. It's like, lose yourself to dance. It's like, oh yeah, just fucking having a musical orgasm while I'm just freaking out in the front, just like, oh fuck, I hope I didn't kill myself, oh shit. We finally got to Jobs. Eddie had to go, even though we really wanted Eddie to come with us, but he was already doing us a massive solid for doing this, but he already had other commitments. We went to the garage where there were a few of our friends, and they were all sober. Like, I love all these guys, don't get me wrong, like, these were our friends, but when you're on mushrooms, and then you start hanging out with other people who not only aren't on the same level you are, but they have no fucking idea of what mushrooms are. Like, no one has had a mushroom experience before this. Like, me and Job were the first of our friends group to do this. They weren't educated on how to treat someone that are tripping, you know? So we went in and they just started asking us a million questions at once. We're like, fuck man, fuck off with your fucking questions. I don't know, leave us alone. It was too much, you know what I mean? I just remember like just like being in my jumper just like this. And just still freaking out and crying and shit. And I don't want to say the main reason, but a big reason for this, why I didn't get out of that state, was because of that goddamn Bob Marley song that was that was constantly on repeat. So not only was this song on the entire time, but then once we got in the garage, they put on the big speaker and just played over on repeat again and again and again. And what this did was, when it will get to certain parts of the song, all it would do is remind me of the place I was in the car, right? So there'll be times where like, oh, okay, I'm feeling better again. Oh, it's all good. Oh, this is fun. Oh, this is trippy. And then I just feel myself going back to that dark place. Like, fuck, oh, shit. And then it'll go to a certain part of the song and it's like, oh, okay, I think I'm feeling better now. It's like, oh no, fuck shit. And that would just go over and over and over again, like, So we're in the garage and we're like, fuck, we need to pick up the car because Job's mum was going to come home. She was going to ask questions like, where the fuck's your car? What are we going to say? I don't know, it just felt like taking a taxi. We just left it somewhere. Like, there was no excuse. So we were calling people trying to get us a lift back to the car. And at this stage, I think Job was okay to drive. After chilling in the garage for a while, and it was so true. I remember going to the bathroom, staring in the mirror, which is, it could be so some people might not be the best idea because of how overwhelming it can be. And I just remember my face and skin just changing colors constantly, and I could see my face in this HD crystal clear vision while morphing, and it was like looking at this into a portal from a different dimension. I was just staring in the mirror for ages, went back, and just picking up normal objects like a bottle of water was like so alien, like whoa. This is at the stage where I think just recently started to go out with my girlfriend Yesenia, and Jub was like, dude, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I have no one else. Can you please call your girlfriend to see if she can come here and drop us off to my car? In my perception at that time, mushrooms was a fucking drug, like a fucking harmful, illegal drug. I didn't want her to know I do this shit and then her to come while I'm in this state and I have to talk to her. I resisted, but I finally called her. I'm like, yeah, I need you to pick us up, blah, 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 blah. Then she came and then took us to the car, and then we went back to the garage. But this is pretty much the end of the trip story, like, all the significant events anyway. The most beautiful, amazing, eye-opening trip I've ever had at the first half. And then since the car from the second act, that's when shit went down south and it was fucking horrible. Me and Job didn't trip for a year after that. We were like, dude, psychedelics are not to be fucked with and we shouldn't do this all the time. But what was amazing and why this changed my life so much was not even the trip itself necessarily, but how I started to think about things afterwards. And it took us a while, and we always talk about, and we always bring back our spiritual awakening process to that one trip, because it really helped me become more open about life and more appreciative of what I have, because I was so fucking... I'm not going to talk, because it's such a long story, like, you know, give you my life story of how I was and how I am now. But I can tell you guys right now, it changed me in so many ways for the better. Made me a lot more humble, a lot more open-minded, a lot more empathetic. That was a huge one. I did not give a shit about nature since I can remember, I suppose. And then that trip was like, ever since then, I would just look at trees and flowers and these amazing sceneries, and I could sit there and just appreciate it, like, wow, look how amazing this is. And I'm not going to pretend that I was like a 100% of a different person compared to before. Like, of course, I still carried a lot of my negative personality traits. It's like, good luck with having one trip and then forever being like, oh, you're happy and free, and nah, definitely not. It gave me perspective on my life in a way that, like, I'm not going on a good path, and at least maybe go a little bit more on that direction. And because I don't want to give too much credit to mushrooms, but at the same time, it really did change my life forever, and I'm so grateful for that experience. And ever since that first mushroom trip, we would have tripped maybe like once or twice a year since then. Like, I know that a lot of people think that I might trip a lot. I could go the rest of my life without tripping, and that's the beauty about psychedelics, is that you may only need 1, 2, 3, a handful of trips until you finally get that message, and then it's like, you won't need it anymore. Because if you keep going back to that world, you'll find it's an infinite rabbit hole that just never ends. Psychedelics are great for opening up the door and opening up your eyes, but you still have to walk the path and do the hard fucking work. Like, the psychedelics is the easy part. If it wasn't for this first mushroom trip, I wouldn't have been open to psychedelics, because it just blew my mind so much that I started to study a little bit of psychedelics here and there, until I eventually came across a Joe Rogan podcast and discovered ayahuasca. Then I went to the jungle, and that changed my life forever, and that's why I started this channel, right? And here we are. If you did like this video, guys, remember to leave a like, comment below, and let us know your first mushroom experience, and did it change your life, and if it did, how so? And of course, share this with a friend. As you guys may know, this channel is completely fan-funded by you guys, and I cannot continue this without your guys' support. So if you do like to see this type of content, you know, trip reports and documentaries and much more ambitious projects that I have planned, go check out Patreon. You get some really cool perks there, and you may have a say on the next video that comes out. So yeah, if you're interested, go check out Patreon. A lot of cool stuff there, and you can also get merch. Like, there's this cool Psilocybin molecule. This is like a sweater thing, but you can also get t-shirts and singlets and all that kind of stuff. So I'll leave all the appropriate links in the description box below. And of course, I do not condone the use of any drugs, but if you are going to take anything, test your substances for fuck's sake, and get a testing kit. I'll leave a link in the description box below. That also helps the continuation of this channel as well. But yeah guys, love yous all. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.